Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast, where our purpose is to help create a better future. Learn from our world's experts how to improve your organisation sustainably. Learn how to achieve and sustain an excellence journey for yourself, others, and the planet.
And I'm your host, Brad Jevons, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. We are proudly brought to you in association with SA Partners, a world-leading business transformation consultancy. SA Partners are a truly purposeful company focused on helping organisations achieve sustainable improvement for themselves, others, and the planet. Welcome to episode 63 of the Enterprise Excellence Podcast. I'm so pleased to have Dr. Morgan Jones back on the show with us today. Morgan will be chatting to us today about why bother, why and how to assess your continuous improvement culture. What an important book. I'm so looking forward to this conversation. Morgan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Brad, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, Morgan, what led you and Chris and Peter to write this book about why bother, about, assessing and a continuous improvement journey and culture?
Well, it's called Why Bother because that's the answer we get. So when you start to think about how do you know you're starting to embed continuous improvement, it's not just, outcomes like are you delivering results? How do you know you've got the mindset? I had implemented a cultural assessment program at CDA, and I've done previous work. And what it came about is you need some evidence that you're continuing to improve and your efforts are making a difference and it's starting to embed rather than just waiting till the end. So having an assessment program just to monitor progress, and it helps you because also by monitoring progress, it keeps the momentum going. People go, oh, we are getting better. Because sometimes when you're in the minutiae, you forget that that you have changed. It's only when you step back and go, let's have just a formal review. It's not an audit. It's just like, how well are we doing from a behavioural space?
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, because I can imagine, I know a lot of companies, go into a lean or continuous improvement or an agile Six Sigma journey. And I think the stats are pretty not that good with how many fail or don't actually progress. I think I heard last it was somewhere in the 70 percentile type ones that don't go forward. What would you say is the reason for that? What's been the focus of your book to try help journeys continue on and not just, spike up and then fall down again?
Well, it's a really interesting one because most programs, nearly every program has to justify its existence by delivering results. And those results, 99 times out of 100, are determined by delivering savings. Show me now, and you have to keep building in those savings and say, if we let us keep doing this, we'll keep saving the company money.
Yep.
Occasionally, you get some smart organizations about generating revenue and building customer loyalty and things, and it's usually show me the results now. We have a very short-term view in life, in business and everything else. Show me the results now. Cultural programs are really interesting because it takes years to actually change your mindset. 2 to 5 years. Some of the research is like 5 years to actually transform a culture. So that's the thing. Why I think is what you normally have is you have very short-term big projects to deliver results. But what happens is you take the focus on that particular project, the behaviors go back to the old way. So you haven't actually addressed what are the sustaining behaviors in the new world. So you put an improvement in place. How do you want people to behave in the new world? And how do you reinforce and keep that going? So what we do is you focus on the result, not the behaviors that deliver the results. Yeah. So as Shingo's, sort of insights, the Shingo Institute's insights, the first one, ideal results require ideal behaviors. And that's really, really key to this whole thing. Right? When we talk about ideal, it doesn't mean perfect. It means sustainable, continuing improve results. And to do that, you need a defined set of behaviors that continue to evolve and improve. But you do need to define and be really laser focused on what those behaviors that you require to deliver those future sustainable results.
Okay, so most companies strategically, when they're looking to do some sort of transformational change, they're focused on projects. But those projects can be, led and managed, and you get to the end of the result, and then the behaviors that actually drive culture can be just the same. But you've written this book, Why Bother, to really get to that deeper level of, okay, you're looking to transform, you're looking to do things differently. Well, what are the behaviors that you need to evolve and grow? And how do you measure those behaviors and see that journey through? Am I on the right track?
Yeah, absolutely. And you just hit a key word in it. It's always seen as a transformation program to find like, we're going to do something over the next 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. And that having a defined period of time, you haven't actually said, well, what does good look like at the end of it? So what do I need to sustain once you got there? And then if you look at one of the big programs, any of the big organizations, they go 3, 4, 5 iterations. Okay, we're going to relaunch, we rebrand it, and they call it something else. Because what they're doing is all they're doing is focusing on the outcomes and not the behaviors that drive the outcomes.
Yeah.
So that's why the book came about. It's focusing on the behaviors that drive those sustainable, or in Chingo insight language, ideal results require ideal behaviors. And this is about assessing where are you on your journey for your behaviors.
That sounds neat, Morgan, because I've heard it so often of companies rolling out lean or rolling out agile, and the frontline employees are there with their heads spinning going, here we go again. It's another transformation or change program with a different banner on it. But what you're saying is that you've written in your book, Why Bother, you've written about more focusing on what are the behaviors you're trying to achieve and develop to grow within your organization, the things you can physically see people doing, and ways to sustain that journey and sustain the improvement for a long time to come. It simplifies things a fair bit by the sounds of it.
It is, and it's surprising that everyone focuses on the outcome and not what you need to have in place to deliver that outcome sustainably. Nothing called behaviors. So that's why bother. And we chose the word why bother because actually, well, why would you bother assessing your behavior? Why would you bother? And that was quite a common reaction when you talk to people. Well, why would you bother? Just show me the results.
Yeah. I'm just going to run a project and we'll get some results. So it's really a book about how to assess your continuous improvement culture and keep on that. And I'm guessing by what you're talking about, Morgan, too, you're talking about really your organization's continuous improvement journey and journey to develop a culture of, excellence, not lean, not agile necessarily, not Six Sigma, but your company's journey.
And you can have lots of different lenses, whether you talk about agile, whether you talk about lean or Six Sigma or customer experience, it doesn't matter. It's the core behaviors that you require to deliver those outcomes.
Yeah, it simplifies it down a fair bit. Morgan, what are the key steps in the book that you outline? Like, what are the few key chapters and steps that people need to follow to take this type of journey?
Well, it's really interesting because Chris Metalworth, one of the co-authors, myself, we were in the business latch, Continous, and we decided we'd actually pen down what the key elements, because I brought Chris in to help me define the program at CBA. So the first step is figuring out sponsorship. You need somebody at the top on the executive panel board out there who actually supports. So you've got to sell it. So first of all, how do you sell it? So chapter 1 is how do you sell? Why would you bother getting a sponsor? So we take you through how to sell. How to sell an assessment program. So each of the chapters, it starts with why bother? Why would you bother getting sponsor? So we answer the question.
That's cool.
And the next piece is about, the next couple of chapters is around really focusing on, first of all, linking, if you want to get these ideas, first of all, how to define behaviors. And then once you realize that, what are the key systems that drive the behaviors? So you might have, and linking the behaviors to your values. Because lots of organizations have corporate values, which are disconnected from every day and disconnected to what you're trying to achieve and your mission statement. So it's actually bringing it to life. So what we do is, first of all, you define the behaviors, and then you look at the systems that drive the behaviors, and then you go, okay, great, okay, that's great at a high level, but now you need to break it down and how you can assess the behaviors, because the behavior is a really interesting thing. People sort of might say respect is a behavior. No, that is a That's an attribute.
Mm.
How people show respect is the behavior. So how you would show respect to somebody could be different to me. But the outcome is showing respect. So it's really understanding how do people show a behavior. So it's what you say and what you do. So the really simple definition, when we get into that sort of assessing behavior, is this something I can video? Could I get my mobile phone out or video today's mobile phone? Could I video this? Could I hear what people are saying? I can't tell what people are thinking. People say they've got this mindset. You can't video a mindset. What you can video and actually record the behavior of what people say and what people do to demonstrate that.
Yeah.
So we sort of do there and so okay, great. Now how are you going to assess your behaviors? Therefore, you create a system. You break it down what it is non-existent to what world class looks like. So you break it into manageable segments or sort of a rubric for measuring. And once you've got that, so it takes you through that. And there's another part and go, well, okay, great. We've talked a lot in business over the years about KPIs, key performance indicators. Now, what we talk about in here is if you're going to measure your behavioral system and behaviors of the organization, you've got to actually have a measure, a metric. And it's not a KPI, it's a KBI, a key behavioral indicator. So that's how you know these are what people are doing. Subtle difference, because KPIs are focused on the outcome. KBIs are focused on how they get there. So that's what we sort of talk about in the next bit. And then we sort of start to, there's a really interesting chapter in there. And this is about when you create, this book is designed not only for people who are going to do assessments, but also people in the business. There's a fantastic chapter by Kevin Eyre who actually talks about voice print. And so what the type of conversations, how do I elicit, get the right, ask the right questions and make a safe environment for people to talk and explain and what to observe. So it's about creating the right tone and voice. So it's really a powerful section in there. And then what we sort of decide to do, so this is great. It sort of sounds very academic in sort of management consulting world. So we said, well, okay, let's see where it's been done. So we had a keynote set of sort of 5 sort of businesses who've already implemented this. So we had 5 case studies. So the first one was around NBN, and how they implemented it. Palapina, Airbus, CBA, and Baccara. They were great. And then what I actually did, because the world has changed over the last 18 months, we went going from having physical, going to sites to assess people. How do you actually change that and lessons learned, switching from a physical assessment to going to a virtual? So doing it over WebEx and stuff and consideration. So we have a bit of a case study in there about doing virtual assessments.
Oh, that'd be helpful, especially in the world that we've come into now.
Yeah, so at the beginning when we wrote it was like, ooh, maybe you got to think about it. Now it's like the new world.
Yeah.
And then sort of once you've actually gathered all this data and you've seen how it works, the important thing is we're all individuals and we all see certain assets. We all have lenses and biases. So what do you think is how do you calibrate and get, so we have a group of 4 people observing meetings, interviewing stuff. We're all going to have a slightly different perspective. So how do you calibrate and get that mindset to say, well, what is the truth that we all observe? What's the best, so it's about how do you calibrate, and it's a simple process, some standard work in there to actually help you decide whether, early on we talked about, the assessing framework, whether it's none, a few, some, most, or all. Well, what's that look like? All means, is that above 80%? None means, less than 10%. It sort of gives some tangible stuff. So putting that framework in place. So helping assessors to actually understand, are they looking at the tool application or are they looking at the behavior the tool is driving?
Yeah, neat.
And then what we sort of moved into then is, right, okay, great, we've got all of that. How do you make it work? So a high-level roadmap to deploy.
Yeah, nice.
And then right at the end, we pull it all together and just say, well, look, here's the why and the what and the how. to get it all to work based on a PDCA cycle.
Yeah.
So that's it. So we start off, how do you get sponsorship? How do you define the behavior and the frame of the system? Then the framework, and then how do you go and collect data? Then sort of, subtle thing about when you're collecting data, how to have the right conversation. Here's some case studies. Then pulling all together to get calibrating all the individual assessors come about, rather than being ordered, because it's quite subjective in some elements. And then actually pulling all together and making it and giving a report out to whichever site you see, and identifying areas they can improve their behaviors. So what system and tools they should focus on to help them once they define the behaviors.
That's neat. Morgan, I can see with this, for an organization that's really looking to set up a system and a cultural approach to truly transform, it's very powerful. You've got the steps of how to get sponsorship on board, how to define behaviors and get away from focusing on tools and techniques and all that, but more focus on what's those key behaviors we need to achieve excellence. Looking at your systems, being able to assess it, break down to KPIs, key behavioral indicators, some elements on your language and how to assess, but then also how to calibrate and create a roadmap to take the journey. Like a really, really powerful coverage you've got. It's like a complete how-to guide on it. Well, why is it important that organizations think about these elements in building, an excellence journey that's their own, versus just rolling someone in to deploy some lean, do some training, and then off they go and job's done?
It's a great question. And the way I look at it is people have deployed lean and Six Sigma and Agile, and you bring external experts in and they do it to your organization. They don't actually build a capability, a sustainable capability in your organization. So therefore you continue to keep them going. And this is the same thing when you talk about behavioral assessment framework, is you have to make it your own. And you go, well, and it's evolved. So we've even in the book, and the first bit I'm most proud of, is said, well, guess what? You have to apply a system of improvement to your assessment system.
Yeah.
So you say, guess what? You start off, this is what it looks like, but then eventually, after 5 years or so, it's built into strategic planning and who gets involved, and it'll evolve. So what it looks like in year one could be different to year 3 and year 5. You still have the rigor, but it will continue to get better. So you apply that PDCA mechanism. So for me, it's about driving the understanding and the behaviors to sustain and continue to improve a behavioral assessment system.
Yeah. It's a neat conversation, one, because I think like you, I've studied a lot on Toyota over the years. Of course we have. We're in the game of continuous improvement and all that things. But I remember everything I've studied on Toyota, it never said that Taiichi Ono went off or Shigeru Shingo went off and brought back the Ford operating system or the Ford way or they went and studied what was best practice around the world, combined it with what they're already doing best practice, focused on the behaviors, the cultural pieces, brought in the systems. Of course, there's the systems of lifetime employment and a lot of other systems in that culture in that organization that sustained it. In a way, you're talking about helping others develop their way,
yes,
their approach, which is focused on behavior and culture rather than focused on systems and tools that other people have done necessarily.
And it's their culture, where their culture is now, and what they want it to look like in the context of their business and their industry.
Yeah, that's neat. That's neat.
What a great episode. Remember to go to enterpriseexcellencepodcast.com/downloads to get hold of the Enterprise Excellence Big Picture Map to help your organization explore its excellence journey. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast to help others gain insights and create a better future.
Well, do you mind if we unpack some of these elements? Like the first one you mentioned was sponsorship. Why is it important to get, some senior sponsorship to a journey like this?
Well, obviously they go through change. This is something new, and they go, well, this is just another thing we have to do. Whereas some of the key elements you have to get that coach the leadership across the line to say, actually, your role as leaders, and this is something that both Shingo and Toyota have found, that senior leaders are responsible for the culture of the organization, for managing and continuing to improve and manage it, lead it. So that's the key thing. So you've got to, getting that sponsorship, because most people focus, oh yeah, but we've got our values, therefore we've got a system. No, you haven't. What you've got a definition and some words. What does that actually look like? And then holding people accountable and rewarding people for when they live the values. And living values at a CEO is different to somebody in middle manager compared to front line. And actually translating it to say, what does that look like for me? Whether I'm somebody fixing a truck or a bank teller compared to a CEO on $5-10 million.
Yeah. So you need that sponsorship from the top to lead the journey, but also, like you said, to really help to cascade and create this behavioral alignment throughout the organization. But Morgan, on that, how option 2, you said chapter 2 and section 2 was very much getting into the defining the behaviors. How do you define behaviors at, say, a senior leadership point of view versus frontline? And do you have some examples you could provide the listeners?
That's a really hard question. But, so what we sort of end up doing, and the best thing is actually start off at the bottom. And what do you want the front line to be doing and saying? And therefore, what do you need the leaders' environment to enable those front line to do what they need to do? So therefore, when you get to the senior leaders, the executive, you're going, what is it they need to be doing? So are they coaching their leaders, business units and sites, etc.? Are they coaching them to manage the culture? And it's not, sorry, I used the wrong word. It's not manage their culture, it's lead their culture. And it's about role modeling. You go, well, what does that actually look like? So therefore, when you get to the senior leader, yes, they do have to role model. You know, we say, oh, a CEO doesn't need to do continuous improvement. Actually, if you see a CEO doing it, guess what? The ripple effects of the organization. If it's what my boss's boss is interested in, it must fascinate me. Because guess what? If they believe in it, and then when the leaders come to lower down the organization, instead of telling them what they need to do, they should be coaching them or coaching their leader to coach them. Continue to build that coaching and that continual improvement of mindsets and capability building. Yeah, that's why it's really important, because the other element of senior executives is they talk about culture, but it's actually quite esoteric. It's quite fluffy. You know, what does that actually look like? So they say, oh, you've got these values. How would you know that the values are being lived?
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, because you've got the descriptor. You go, actually asking the question, how would you know that somebody is truly living your values? What would they be doing and saying? Because you can't read their mind.
Yeah.
If you start asking that question, and you get them to say, because you can only, as human beings, we can't mind read. What we can do is observe behaviors, and if we continue, this is what our calibration piece say. This is about how you continue to embed the value set that you desire in your organization, which drives your culture.
It's powerful, Morgan. Like I can see, especially when you tie it back to culture, like it's such a powerful position because the culture is the way we are, who we are. But we're actually bringing it down by defining the key behaviors we need to achieve excellence now. And like you said, they could evolve year to year or, you know, strategic period to strategic period. You're really bringing culture to life and you're able to see it, lead it, measure it. Well, what are some of the key systems? You mentioned that there are systems that drive behaviors. So I'm guessing those systems can drive behaviors either positively or negatively. What do you go into? What is that element? It's really topic 3 in the book, but what do you go into there?
That could be anything. So it could be your people development system. And so we might talk about continuing to build the succession planning, making sure you've got the capability of your team members, not just for their current role, but so they can evolve and get into a better role, you need to backfill them. And as each supervisor and superintendent or manager, senior manager, whatever you want to call them, you need to, instead of saying, I'm happy and I'm protected, I want people to develop.
Yeah.
And that's the key. So one of the classic ones is the people system. Now, you can have a subsystem in there, which is coaching. Because coaching is a very subtle one. So that's an example. Reward and recognition is another classic. So when we talk about behaviors and behavioral change, it takes, for every negative comment or chastisement or whatever, it takes at least 4 positives just to negate, take it out of your mind. So it's like having children or training dogs or even training us, our own mind. If we give positive reinforcement on what we want people to do, they're more likely to continue to do that. So that's why thinking about reward and recognition, and reward can be, intrinsic or extrinsic. So it could be, give them money, it could be a pat on the back and just saying, well done, in front of their peers. Some like it, some like it to be nice and quiet. So that's a really powerful one, because these are all about, and they go, oh, but it's just paying people money. No, it's not. It's about, and the reason that I picked those two, because they're fundamental to, if you look at the Shingo model, one of the foundations is respect every individual. And by doing that, it's actually saying you're rewarding, recognizing, I think you have the capability to grow. I want you to get, we believe in you. We want you to get better at delivering your current role, and potentially, if you want, to get better roles in the future. So you can, develop your career. But if you're happy to stay where you are, we want to give you a fulfilling role, and you feel empowered to continue to improve, to make it safer, more efficient. You learn. And you're happier, and people are happier in their roles. They can put discretionary effort. Therefore, they'll try and put more effort in to try and make things even better. And what translates is the people receiving the product or service of any process will know when people are committed. You feel it. People really value it by the way they talk to you.
Yeah, I can imagine. And it's powerful. Well, look, I'm really painting this picture in my mind that you've got the behavioral system, which links back to your culture, and you've defined how you can actually establish the behaviors at all levels of the organization that are so key to measure and lead forward towards excellence. But just the same, the operating systems or the systems of the organization on the right-hand side, they'll impact that either positively or negatively. So you need to look at your operating systems and think, well, where are we with our operating systems, and how do they impact or positively, or do we not even have that onboarding system to develop people?
Yeah, and it's a really interesting one. So one of the interesting elements when I rolled out CI across other organizations, the question you used to have is what the behaviors, if you're implementing a new IT system, whether it's SAP or Oracle or whatever it may be, success factors, what are the behaviors that this new system is going to drive? You go, what do you mean? People just follow. No, you're missing the point. There's a difference about following the process, but then there's a behavior. And one of the classic examples is some people, we have in finance, we have approval systems for expenses, and you can't approve expenses above a certain value unless you're more senior and things like that. So those systems, although we say managers and leaders, you're empowered to make decisions, financial decisions. However, we're not going to empower you to make a decision over $1,000.
Yeah.
Well, you're empowered. So it's one of those ones where you go, oh, but, and it's from a financial. So you look where we say the words, you're empowered. However, the systems that we have developed over the years actually disempower you or are contravening and say, yeah, you're empowered, but only to this piece, that much. Yeah. The rest of it, we don't trust you, therefore you have to escalate it up.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting where when you start to challenge, you go, well, yeah, but they might make a decision that's wrong. Well, you empower them, develop them. If you've got the wrong person in the role, that's your challenge. So, it's changing that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really powerful when you think about it that way, that you could have empowerment down as a core value of your company, and you've got written up there on the wall, but then over on the other side here, we got all these systems that are telling our people, you're not actually empowered. You actually, that's not truly the way we are. So I can really understand from that the importance of looking at both sides of it, understanding what is that culture we have and we're looking to grow and improve, and how do we measure and lead that? Then what part are our systems, our operating systems of our business playing on that?
Let's call this episode to an end, Morgan, and continue our chat next week. Thanks for the talk today on your book, Why Bother? Have a great week, or catch up with you next week. Bye for now.